Hello comrades, I am Dr. Poplov and today you are taking the first step towards becoming a tactical genius. It all begins by analyzing your squad, and I'm going to give you lots of tips and examples throughout this video, but I want you to keep two things in mind. Every team is unique and there is usually more than one solution to any tactical dilemma. My goal here is to transfer all of my tactical knowledge to you and to give you lots of awesome tips, but ultimately what I want to do is to enable you to think for yourself. Imagine how you feel when you're wearing your favorite shirt or you put on a really sexy dress. I want you to feel like that about your FM skills, because we all know that FM skills improve your sex life by 400%. It's just science. Starting with a squad analysis is extremely important because when you're joining a new club you need to throw away your biases, you need to throw away your assumptions. If you can't adapt to your team, then you will end up like LVG at Man United, so your team will either stagnate and stay in limbo forever, or worse, you will get relegated. I'm about to take you through 10 areas that you need to analyze before you can even set a formation for your team. It might seem overwhelming at first, or it might encourage you to rip apart your squad, but I want to stress one thing. Do not break down your squad and completely gut it in the first season, because you will have a lot of inconsistency during the long gelling period and you might get fired during this time even if you're at a top club. So let's jump into the first factor, which is age and speed. If you notice that you have an old squad, you're probably not going to have a lot of pace and your stamina is not going to be great. This means that you're not going to be super amazing at counter-attacking and you're not going to be able to play at a fast pace. On the flip side, if you have a lot of fast players, a lot of young, explosive kind of guys, you might be able to pull off counter-attacking really well and generally a high tempo of play. Also, the young guys might benefit more from a direct style of passing because the older guys can't run as much and need shorter passes to move around the pitch. It's really important to get your tempo and passing up, because if you don't, you'll probably end up getting sacked faster than a Chelsea manager. So let's move on to freedom. You're going to want to take a look at your squad's vision, passing and dribbling attributes. If you find that your boys are technically gifted and pretty smart, you're going to want to give them more freedom because they can express themselves on the pitch in ways that you never even imagined. If this is not the case, then you should definitely restrict some of the freedoms your players have because you don't want them making stupid mistakes. By the way, these factors, I'm not listing them in any order of importance, except the final one that I will give you. It will be the most important one. But for now, let's talk about kids. Check your under 20s, under 19s, whatever you have the B team, you might find some hidden gems or you might find some backup players. The kids can be very useful because if you find a wonder kid, you can now know to build a formation around him for the future. Or if you're lacking rotation options, maybe somebody in the reserves is good enough to come in as a bit player. You should also check out how much your players are actually costing you. You might find that you create an awesome formation that really fits your team, but then your substitutions are sitting on the bench, not that good, and they're collecting a whole bunch of money. You will probably find 2 or 3 players in any team that, when you look at their wages and you look at their fees, you just go, what the fuck? Another important thing to look out for is personality types. This is not completely in your control, but you generally want to have a team that has a very similar or the same personality. This will make them gel faster and play better together because they'll be able to form a lot of relationships. Plus, it gives you the bonus of similar reactions when you're doing team talks or when you're trying to motivate players. You should always look to offload your bad apple, because if this person is causing chaos, causing unhappiness, it will spread to the rest of your team, ruin morale, and this will cause your form to drop. Morale is extremely important in Football Manager. When you're performing this team analysis, be sure to check out the injury history of your players and check their coach reports for any injury proneness. Even if you make a really good tactic but it's centered around 1 or 2 players and they're made of glass, you're going to struggle. I really have no patience for injury prone players. If I'm giving you my hard-earned virtual cash, I expect to see some good performances on the pitch. Anyway, don't forget to compare yourself to the rest of the league. It will give you a good overview and show you where you stand. This will help you get some indication as to how your tactics and general style of play will perform. Okay, so 2 more items to go, and remember, the final one is the most important one. But let's talk about the second last one. Versatility. You need to have a plan B and you need to have a plan C. If you're a big team and you can dominate teams, great. You can do that at home, maybe you can even play with 2 strikers or 3 strikers. But if you're on the road or you don't have a super great team, you need to employ slightly different tactics. So when you're analyzing your players individually, when you're looking at their skills, their attributes, make sure you take a look at what they can do other than the thing they're really good at. For example, Daley Blind is one of my favorite players in the game. No, he's not a world-class talent, but he can play so many different positions that I know I can make my tactics flexible and I can fit him in during rotation when necessary. If your squad can't really perform secondary actions, you're going to struggle. Your tactics are going to be very similar and it will be easier for the AI to adjust for them. So this brings us to the most important thing you should look at when analyzing your team for the purpose of creating a formation and style of play. You absolutely have to carefully examine the positional and role balance across your entire team. If you have a lot of good wingers, it makes sense to create a wide formation where you exploit the wings, run counterattacks, or increase the tempo. If you notice that your midfield is kind of thin and you can't really do anything about it, then it might make sense to play with 5 defenders, maybe 3 central defenders and 2 fullbacks. The point I'm making is that once you understand the positional balance of your team, you need to shape the formation around it. You want to amplify what your team is good at, you want to focus on the advantages, because once you focus on that, this will help reduce the weaknesses. For example, imagine you're building a team around Marco Reus. He plays on the wings, he's really good at that, and it wouldn't make sense to play a diamond formation in that case. Your squad's positional and role makeup will dictate your formation. Okay, so I know we just covered a lot and it might be hard to process all of this at once, but just take it step by step. So when you're analyzing your next squad, maybe take a look at this video, take a look at the first item, analyze, come back to the video, take a look at the second item, and so on and so on. Once you have a complete analysis of your team, it will really guide your vision for the formation and style of play, even if you're not good at making tactics yet. I'm going to let you in on a little bit of an open secret. Football Manager responds very well if you're a hands-on manager and you do a lot of customization and it's complementary to your team, of course. However, Football Manager is also pretty good at rewarding a hands-off style, so if you're not that confident in your abilities, as long as you have the foundations right, your team will still do okay relative to its strengths. And by foundations I mean your basic formation and your basic roles. We are of course going to get super advanced as this guide goes on, but for now the key takeaway is that you really need a strong analysis of your team in order to build a foundation for your tactics. Do not be afraid of making mistakes, do not be afraid of experimenting, and do not listen to your coaches that much. Each coach has a different playing style, each coach has different attributes. If you listen to every single coach, you're going to get so much conflicting advice and you're just going to screw yourself over. I do have to warn you though, if you're planning on being a hands-on manager in the future, you have to stick to that in your save. If you're planning on being a hands-off manager, you have to stick to that as well. FM does not reward you if you tinker with your tactics here and there, so and so, because it's going to create a lot of confusion for the players, they're not going to gel, and you're not going to get the performances that you're looking for. I want you to assess your squad, I want you to have a tactical vision, and I want you to try your best to execute that vision. It doesn't matter in the long term if your vision sucks, because you're going to learn a lot from that, and I've said vision so many times that I'm not even sure what it means anymore, and I'm not even sure if I'm saying it right. Vision, 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 vision. We have covered a lot of information today, so I want to give you some homework and I want to tell you what I'm going to do next. I want you to start a new save, pick a team and perform a full squad analysis. Then I want you to set 2 formations that you think fit your team, one for home games and one for away games. Also, make sure you take care of the tempo, the passing style, the freedom, and the width of play. Don't worry about the rest for now. And then finally, I want you to share some screenshots in the comments and maybe explain in a couple of sentences why you thought this is the best course of action. I think I can give you some good feedback, I think other players can give you some good feedback as well, and we can really kind of learn together as a community. For my next video, I'm going to do something similar. I'm going to create a bunch of squad analyses, I'm going to create a bunch of squad tactics, just the baseline formations and the items we talked about, because I want you guys to see it in action and how it applies to different teams. Between the next video and between everyone doing this in the comments, I think it will make you more comfortable experimenting with tactics and you might learn new things that you've never even thought of before. By the way, if you can't decide which team to pick for your homework, I recommend Manchester United. It doesn't matter if you like them or not, it's just interesting to see how people come up with different approaches for that squad because it can be pretty open-ended. Thank you so much for sticking through this very long video. I know we had a lot of ground to cover. I humbly ask that you please subscribe to my channel, it lets me know that you guys want to see more FM content, and share this video with your friends so that they can participate in the homework as well. Stay beautiful and have a nice day.